So as you all know, Israel is a bloodthirsty, genocidal, psychopathic country that's currently in the midst of a Holocaust. Brings me no joy to say that, but all the evidence is insanely clear. I think anybody who doesn't admit that at this point is honestly just dishonest. They're just not, for whatever reason, they're not telling you the truth, right? The official number of the dead, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, is now 50,000. But that number wildly undercounts, right? Every other analysis I've seen says minimum 100,000. Some are over 200,000 dead. Because the ability to actually count these things has collapsed. It collapsed a long time ago, right? So you have to go by the same sort of methodology that was used in previous genocides in order to get to the real number. And if you use that methodology, you're looking at over 150,000 people that have been killed by Israel. Whether it be through starving, malnutrition, bombing them directly, there's ethnic cleansing, moving them from one area to another area, bombing tents, bombing schools, bombing hospitals, sniping kids in the face, attacking UN buildings, bombing World Central Kitchen workers, torturing Palestinians by anally graping them in concentration camps that they said. I mean, it's everything you can imagine. And, there's been a concerted effort to sort of hide the reality from Americans as much as possible, right? But look at this new piece of information that we learned. Ready? From Mohammed Shahada here. Netanyahu erupted in anger on October 9th. That's 2 days after October 7th. Yelling and banging on the table. Why not 5,000? He scolded the chief of staff. We don't have 5,000 approved targets, Halevi replied. I'm not interested in targets, Netanyahu retorted. Take down houses. Bomb with everything you have. So this is yet another example, added to the laundry list of other examples that we've seen that we've covered on this show, of just outright genocidal sentiment. Oh, I don't care if you're getting the bad guys or not. Just start bombing more shit. What's the problem? You've had top Israeli government officials calling Palestinians, they're not humans, they're animals. And we're going to treat them like animals. We're going to cut off the food, the fuel, the water, the electricity. We're going to do a total siege of the area, punish 2.3 million people for the actions of 30,000 or 40,000 Hamas members, right? And I've played the compilations for you where they literally sound like Adolf Hitler. All the top Israeli government officials, right? And here's another validation, yet again, for another meeting where he's like, what are we talking about? Go. By the way, they also, remember they used AI to pick targets, and the AI targets were like, yes, that preschool is great. Bomb that. So we learned this, okay? And by the way, Haaretz is doing a way better job covering this than U.S. outlets. There's still like passive language in the U.S. and, it doesn't describe intentionality on the part of the Israelis doing war crimes. It's very like, it's not very descriptive and it's very hands-off. It's very passive in the language, like a blast occurred and Palestinians are injured, some say. Like it's stuff like that, right? So we learned this. Now, at the same time this is going on, what's happening under the Trump administration? Well, we know Trump is sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel, sent them over $10 billion in weapons since he got in there. He's greenlighting them using those 2,000-pound bombs. He's letting them go back to decimating Gaza. He's going to allow them to move on the West Bank. He was paid by Miriam Adelson, and that was the quid pro quo, let Israel take the West Bank. And at the same time, he's doing one thing which was hard to foresee. Because the U.S., we have the Constitution, we have the First Amendment, you have free speech, you have free protest. And so those things are supposed to be off the table. Well, not for Trump, somebody who's an open, authoritarian, fascist madman. So what do? Mahmoud Khalil, pro-Palestine protester, anti-genocide protester at Columbia, was one of the leaders of that movement. They disappeared him. They locked him up. Didn't even accuse him of a crime. In fact, said he didn't commit a crime. But they disappeared him. Okay. Well, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was asked about this. And let me show you. Here's what she said.
If you do not comply with the law, if you do not protect our students on campus, these kids go to college to be safe, to learn in a safe environment, and that's not happening. And it's absurd that these universities are not stepping in to protect them, yet they're protecting these protesters who are also, I believe, some domestic terrorists. They're here inciting riots, inciting violence against students on college campuses, and it's going to stop.
So she just called pro-Palestine protesters domestic terrorists. If you protest for Palestine and against Israel's genocide, if you say something like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, or if you say free Palestine, they view that as a terrorist chant, and that you are a domestic terrorist. Just like they said, shit, we might lock some Americans up in the, El Salvador slave labor camp, right? They might disappear some pro-Palestine protesters to those places, and Columbia is caving to them, and other colleges and universities are caving to them, and they're broadcasting, yeah, we'll charge you like you're a terrorist for just doing your free speech rights, for doing free protest, which this country guarantees in its constitution. So at the same time, we learn, here's another very clear and specific example of Benjamin Netanyahu saying, like, let's do a genocide. The people who are speaking out against that, they say, you're a domestic terrorist. No, you know who the terrorist is? Benjamin Netanyahu. You know who the terrorist is? Donald Trump. Sending Benjamin Netanyahu more money and more weapons day after day after day, watching them starve kids to death, snipe kids in the face, carpet bomb tents, carpet bomb hospitals. Did you know? Literally yesterday, Israel bombed another hospital. An American doctor who's in Gaza had to come out and tell the story and say, my patient just died. I was about to be in his room. I wasn't in his room at the moment, but he died. He was in that room. I was very close to being in that room. They are acting like there are no rules and nothing matters and there is no international law because they think they can get away with it because they have the backing of the United States government. And it's time for the rest of the world to wake up. If it requires every country on earth sanctioning Israel, if it requires every country on earth sanctioning the United States, isolating us, they need to fucking do it. Human life has to matter. It has to mean something. The law has to matter. It has to mean something. We've been live streaming a genocide in 4K for years. For years now. Over a year. And everybody's acting like, yeah, it is what it is. And in fact, if you speak out against it, domestic terrorist. We went down the bad timeline, y'all. There's no denying that at this point. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.